This is a journey into sound.
Saluton, amicoi. Welcome to another episode of The Young Bureaucrat in Brussels. That's right, you are back. First episode of 2026. Great year, starting really, really well, as you already can see. The world is bombing, literally and figuratively. Everything is fantastic. Things are better. I don't know. I'm feeling with a good energy. I feel like things are getting into place. And so alongside with my friend, a researcher in migration and other stuff that people in social sciences do, whatever we're about to find out. They are here with me today, and we're going to be talking a bit about migration issues, about our experiences and how we perceive other people's experiences. And this is, don't forget, one step further after today, that will be of becoming the new MEP and/or member of the European Commission. You are also about to, so as you know, you probably already applied for the new competition that coming there. Don't forget, you are really, really close. This podcast is one step more over there. And I think that we can start. Hey there.
Hey.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, we always give voice to the best voices, to the best people, what really needs to be said. Because I don't know if you notice, nowadays in our society, people that speak the truth are silenced and cancelled. Only those that speak loud and, talk about rights and protests and whatever are there. So sometimes we need to listen to the real shit. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry for those that don't like swearing words.
I agree.
Let's start our interview today. I have studied this stuff a bit before when I was studying in the College of Europe. I don't know if people back at home know I was studying in the College of Europe, but I was studying in the College of Europe. And so I wanted to starting by asking you, so being both of us Portuguese, right, based in Brussels, is Portuguese immigration today the same as Portuguese immigration was in the last century?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I mean, if you listen to the way people talk about it, Portuguese migrants in the past were basically saints, because they were humble, hardworking, grateful, silent. They arrived, worked like crazy, asked for very little. And over time, they became these moral benchmark, like the good migrants, I would say.
Yeah.
The ones who truly earn everything through sacrifice.
True.
Now,
That's
people
true.
still live for many of the same reasons, as you know, probably. We live because of work, housing, dignity, opportunities. So in that sense, we can say that there is like some continuity, but the style has changed a lot.
Okay. Interesting. The style. You mean like, for example, I don't know, back in the day they came with like a mustache and a beret, and right now like we wear like earrings. For example, I have earrings in both ears, which a lot of Portuguese back home would call me names starting with P and ending in Eiro. You mean like stuff like that?
Yeah, kind of. For example, like old migrants are like more associated with folk dance groups, Pimba music.
Pimba.
I think you know Pimba,
Heritage.
right? We know Pimba. We all know Pimba.
Nós Pimba.
Also, Portuguese cafes, Sunday mas, and like long lunches with the same people every week. And I would say that the newer ones, they prefer brunch, overpriced cafes, international friend groups, curated playlists. I would say that these new ones are more, how can I say, cosmopolitan, you know? So somehow like they are morally superior.
Interesting. It's good to have a scientist saying this, If a scientist is saying this, it means it's true. This is how science works. If one of them says something, it becomes immediately true. We all know this. So, okay, interesting. I noticed something you said. You said back in the day, they liked long lunches. Nowadays, we like more brunches. So from lunch to brunch, from L to B, right? Does it mean that like if people nowadays like also a long lunch, something long, nowadays we like more like a bong, like a weed bong? Allegedly. I'm just asking. It's science. So in science, we can ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't searched that, but we don't have like findings about it. But it's something that we might like explore in the future.
Okay. I see. Because you already
good
have.
idea. Like it's a good clue. I
Yeah?
think. Yeah.
You're welcome. I think that you already said stuff that we can take on, like being somehow morally superior. I mean, I tend to agree, because, for example, the job that I do as a bureaucrat is much more useful for society than, for example, being a caretaker or being someone in the cleaning service, as most Portuguese immigrants were back in the day. Anyone can do that. But can everyone write briefings as well as I can? You see what I'm getting, right? But at the same time, we talk about old migrants being remembered as the good migrants. So how do we put together this? They are good, but we are the morally superior ones?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, like the old migrants are remembered as the good migrants, right?
Yeah.
I think you also have that idea, no?
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Considering what we hear here in Brussels. And like the older migrants, they are often remembered as people who suffered more because they worked harder and built everything from nothing.
Yeah.
While
true.
the younger migrants, by contrast, they are often seen, like especially by older migrants, as arriving with life already half organized for them.
Yeah.
But the
I
truth
see.
is, like, both generations made sacrifices,
For sure.
right? Because they just made different ones.
Yeah.
The older migrants left home to do jobs nobody wanted, like as you were saying, like construction, cleaning, hard manual work. I would say like all difficult and often invisible labor. But the newer migrants, they often live with degrees, better qualifications, and a different kind of social value.
Yeah.
But it's also true that they give their mental health to Brussels. They share
True.
flats, they have unpaid internships, and the obligation to call all of this an exciting opportunity.
Yeah.
That's even
Yeah.
harder, no?
In a way, yeah. In a way, yeah. I can see. I mean, indeed, they are very matching sacrifices. I mean, sure, our grandparents can say, "Oh, yeah, we left during fascism. We had to run away to France, salto, as we say, like jumping over the border, blah blah." Okay, Senor Joaquim, that sounds difficult, but indeed, what about sharing a co-living with 8 other people and having an unpaid? Although the paid internship, I'm not against. It's experience. You don't earn money, but you're an experience. It's a good opportunity. And if you're lucky one day, your boss at your traineeship can buy a second Porsche for themselves. So if you're lucky, you can contribute to that. So that part, I'm not sure if I agree. Yeah, but I think they are equipable sacrifices.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's science. Once again, this is science. So you think in the end we both suffer from this similar stuff? We both leave home, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, both still suffer from leaving home. The older migrants suffer through physical exhaustion,
Yeah.
isolation, hard labor, and the newer ones, they suffer too, but like in a more prestigious and invisible way.
True.
And they suffer from precarity with a diploma,
True.
loneliness with good Wi-Fi, and
Sometimes.
burnout in an international environment.
Yeah.
So no, it's not exactly the same migration.
If there's no Wi-Fi, then you're gonna have bad Wi-Fi, right? 50 years ago, no Portuguese migrant in Brussels had bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's
None
true.
of them. And nowadays we get bad Wi-Fi. So yeah, once again, Senor Joaquim, think about it next time we talk about migration. No, Senor Joaquim is nobody, by the way, just a character. As we know, this is a serious podcast, but sometimes we talk about characters as well.
Maybe we can also say like the older ones were the good migrants.
Yeah.
And the newer ones, they are the moral superior migrants.
That's interesting because that leads me to my next question. Is it true that because, okay, so we're talking about migrants, but right now, nowadays, is it true that Portuguese people that were migrants before became expats? Have we made this like jump, Are we now the supreme state of expat?
Yeah, good question. Absolutely. The numbers do suggest that today's Portuguese migrants are, on average, more educated and more professionally qualified. I don't know if you know this, but numbers show that.
Yeah, if numbers show.
And that alone seems to be enough for people to stop calling them migrants and start calling them expats. That's the most accurate terminology.
Yep. We had an episode about this
Really?
already. Yeah. We had a lazy Southern European here that said he upgraded to expat. We even did an Instagram live asking people if they were expats or immigrants. Well, they were asking us.
And?
And yeah, for example, we had a Moldovan that worked in IT, obviously an expat, right? But if it's like a Moldovan working in an NGO, it's a migrant. But if it's a French working in an NGO, is also an expat. You know, this makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But as we now know, an immigrant is someone who moves abroad to work.
Yeah.
And an expat is someone who does exactly the same thing, but with a degree, an email signature, and a LinkedIn account. So these are the three main characteristics that help us identify an expat.
Okay. Now it's settled. Now we have clear criteria. Nice. Good to put it on live. So what's the difference exactly?
So the difference, it's a bit what you were saying. So it's not about like the movement itself. It's the packaging or the branding, whatever you want to call it. If you clean offices, you are an immigrant. If you attend workshops, you are an expat. If you miss home while working construction, that's it, you are an immigrant. If you miss home while drinking flat whites in Brussels, that's international and you are an expat.
Exactly.
Lifestyle is different as well.
Also think about it. Construction immigrant. Flat white, right? Flat expat. You know, the sound. Flat
Yeah.
expat, right? Construction migration.
Makes all the sense.
Because a lot of these leftists goes, oh, but calling expat is just because they are white. No, it's not, bro. Listen to this podcast, okay? You will know the criteria.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the most important discoveries in migration studies. The word expat tends to appear when the migrant looks respectable enough to avoid being associated with migration. It's still the same airport, the same homesickness, the same bureaucracy, the same overpriced room in a shared flat, just with a different label. So I would say that when people say, I'm not an immigrant, I'm an expat, what they often mean is, I'm a Portuguese, but I don't work in construction or housekeeping.
So much like food for thought here. What I've been noticing here, also between our different groups, right? Expats have friends from many countries. Unlike typical Portuguese from the 60s, we have friends usually from like, mostly other Portuguese. Like, isn't that also clearly a criterion, I would say?
Yes, we had already identified that pattern quite clearly with more recent and more skilled Portuguese or like migration in general. We now have people with better language skills, more international exposure, and a much greater ability to socialize with other nationalities. So naturally, their social world looks more open, more cosmopolitan, and above all, like more presentable.
Presentable, yeah. Good word.
Yeah, I think it's a good word. I like it.
Yeah.
So more friends from many countries. It's not like years ago when unskilled migrants were coming here like mainly to live, work, and spend time almost exclusively with other connationals. In the case of the Portuguese, other Portuguese people, and of course, like there are still some who do that, and they remain inside this like ethnic bubble, which is of course very comforting emotionally, but not especially helpful. It's not especially helpful if your goal is to become the kind of migrant people find respectable, right?
True.
Yeah.
No.
So
that's true. Like if you're only hanging out with people from your country, you're pretty much called a migrant, and unless you are a U.S. national, you only hang out with other Americans here, because we know the U.S. They are like the next step of human civilization. That's what we think in Europe, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely the position we are having right now, which is the best position to have. But with them, like obviously if you see like a group of 5 Americans, say, 5 American expats. But if you see a group of 5 Portuguese, then you would say, of course, 5 Portuguese migrants.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
No, that's true. So
okay. So do you think like recent immigration seems to integrate better than the older one? Like people like our age have more international friends, for example?
Yeah, I would say so. And those, they live like in a more international environments.
Yeah.
They also like drink better coffee. They go to extremely nice brunch places. That's very important.
I like a nice brunch place.
And they share like a whole range of, I would say, soft capitalist progressive opinions with people from like 6 other different countries, like
6. Okay, that's what. Yeah, interesting. Because 6 other countries in a normal Plux night, it's like a very mono-national night. I think I meet 6 other countries just on the queue to buy beer at Plux.
yeah, you see.
So yeah,
So data is right. I mean, data is always right.
true. And there is no better way to do a sociological study than Plux, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus Luxembourg for the new ones in Brussels.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, would you say also that, do you think like not speaking the local language is a sign of better migration? Because, for example, Portuguese that came back in the day, and Spanish, I bet, and Italians, they would learn French immediately, like because they had to work in unskilled jobs. But nowadays, you see a lot of Portuguese like us that don't speak French, speak English. Spanish also don't speak French, but Spanish, yeah, Spanish can live 20 years in a country and not speak language of that country anyway. It's a skill that they have, honestly, because it feels like if you speak language of the country, you're kind of like saying, oh yeah, I'm a migrant, so I have to speak language and integrate. If you don't speak language, you can have this look like, speaking a language, they should speak English to me because I'm very important. It's a bit how I feel, If I go to my commune and they answer me in Dutch, I'm like, in Dutch, just because it's the official language of your country, now I have to speak it because I'm the one living here wanting to do my social services here. Why not you adapting to me and speaking English with me? I think English should be an official language of Brussels. This is my opinion. A lot of us have this opinion. I think it makes total sense. Why should I adapt as an expat? I'm not a migrant, right?
Actually, one of our policy recommendations, like from this study, was actually for countries to start like officializing English, to make English an official language.
Okay, that's a good recommendation. Okay, do you want to detail a bit more?
Yeah. So like, I think like the answer to your question is a bit obvious, like, and it connects also very well with what we were like discussing before, and the evidence on this is actually very clear.
Yeah.
So in both cases, people may not speak the local language for different reasons, obviously.
Okay.
So when low-skilled migrants do not speak it, this is usually taken as a sign of failed integration. They do not integrate, they do not want to integrate, and the language issue becomes proof of that.
Okay, makes sense.
When more skilled migrants do not speak it, however, the interpretation is completely different, as you were saying.
Yeah.
In that case, it's not a failure at all. It's simply because they already work and live in English, which is the language they need, the language that open doors. And come on, in many cases, English is the only language required for a respectable international life.
Exactly, and it's neutral. It has nothing to do with American cultural imperialism, as woke leftists say. It's neutral, It's apolitical.
Yeah. So I think like inability may look similar, but socially it is understood in a completely different ways.
Okay.
And of course, like studies also suggest that skilled migrants, expats.
Okay.
If we want to
make
be
the distinction
accurate, we should call
exactly
skilled migrants expats.
You
migrants.
Are a scientist, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And expats, they are generally not dependent on state benefits, which further confirms that this is a superior form of migration. Right?
We don't come here to suck all the benefits from these guys, even though studies show that migrants give more money to social services than they get from it, but it doesn't matter, If you're taking it, you're already like, yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I never got 1 single cent from anyone other than perhaps my parents and my parents' parents and my rich uncle, but it doesn't matter, Like,
yeah. But yeah, numbers show that.
The numbers show that. Okay.
They confirm it.
Yeah.
So I think that like they may not speak the local language, but yeah, they do speak employability, which
Sounds
in
nice.
Europe is often considered much more important.
Speaking employability, I hope Duolingo is listening to us and is going to include employability as a language to learn.
So yeah, I mean, not speaking the local language can be absolutely a sign of better migration. It really depends on your salary, your profession, and to some extent, scarf quality.
Which kind of scarf would you recommend them?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure back home our newcomers, our trainees are thinking, damn, so I have to have a great scarf. Of course you have. Duh. What do studies show the material of a scarf that screams more I am employable? Like a cashmere something, or a linen?
No,
Silk.
I would
is-
say depend on the season.
Ah,
Cashmere
Yeah.
for winter,
Okay.
and maybe
Silk.
linen
Linen.
or
Okay.
silk. Silk
Okay.
is more like
Silk is cool because silk can also show, oh yeah, I was in China and I brought it from there, you know? Come on, that's also a clear sign from an expat. If you spend more
yeah, that's true.
if you spend more time, probably surgeon, no? If you spend more time in the airport than in your own house, then you are an expat.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's another indicator.
Yeah. And then also if you are here in Brussels and your house is a co-living with 21 other people, often an airport lounge has less people than your house. So, you might want to be there.
Yeah.
And okay, we are. I mean, I have only one more question for you. We are already approaching the end of the podcast. I want to talk about gender. Okay, because nowadays, of course, you see back in the day, you saw like, we always had from Portugal men and women migrating. Nowadays, you have as well. Don't you feel like because back in the day, women would come here, studies would show okay, they would like maybe divorce when they would come here. They would live allegedly toxic relationships they would have back in Portugal. They would have learned different practices and think for themselves, right? They would come to unskilled jobs. Nowadays, women are coming also for jobs in the European Commission, which promotes gender equality. As you know, our hierarchy is mostly women, which shows that feminism is being fulfilled when women are in power positions, right? That's the number one metric.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But don't you think like at some point isn't this a bit like, libertinism kind of? Where are like these old school women from before? Don't you think the world is losing a bit of that with these new waves?
Yeah, I don't know how to say this, but in fact, this is one of the clearest findings we have. If we look at the historical evidence, the problem begins the moment women are given too much room to think, to move, earn, or decide in general. So
okay, interesting opinion.
Yeah, so before that, like I think the system worked perfectly. Women were stable, disciplined, family oriented, and generally too busy sacrificing themselves to develop unrealistic expectations about freedom.
Exactly, right? And if you have expectations, you get disappointed. So you shouldn't have expectations.
Yeah,
This is what sociology says.
But unfortunately, modernity arrived, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm neither progressive nor conservative. I am right there in the middle, I'm neither. I am the middle point between those two. So I tend to agree with you somehow here, But again, I'm neither. I'm not progressive or conservative. I think both sides are equally right or wrong.
yeah, and what our findings show is that, migration has only accelerated this process. So, in fact, many of the women I interviewed described migration as the beginning of a second life. They started going out more, meeting new people, having more relationships.
More relationships.
Making their
What's
own
of
choices.
this society?
Managing their own money, and also like generally becoming much harder to control, and even getting divorced, as you were saying. You also said that before. It's true. Women who migrate tends to get more divorced.
Destroy the traditional family, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'm in the middle here. I'm neither progressive or conservative. But do we want to destroy traditional family that has been working so well to so many people? Just a question back home as well. So if you look at the evidence, what do you find then?
Yeah, I mean, evidence shows that migration can be extremely dangerous for women. Like it exposes them to freedom, and after that, they often stop behaving like proper housewives and start behaving like like men, basically.
Yeah.
And which, like I think in certain circles is more or less the definition of libertinism.
Yeah. Yeah. No, women behaving like men have. I think there's this issue when women start behaving like men, which is they behave like men. That's the issue. They start cooking badly. They start being selfish, thinking only about themselves. They may start even peeing standing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's studies about this. That migration may lead for women to pee standing, but maybe it could be another idea.
Maybe we can explore that in one of our next studies.
Yeah.
Thank you for the idea.
Absolutely. Would be a pleasure to have you here again. For today, I think this is our time. Again, another amazing conversation in the Young Bureaucrat in Brussels. Leave your comments, tell us what you think. And don't forget, after today, you are just this little bit closer, where you are very close. Continue your path. And we'll talk to you again soon. Ciao.
Ciao.
This is a journey into sound.